On November 17th in 2008, Left 4 Dead, one of the greatest co-op survival games of all time, was released, followed exactly a year later by an even better sequel, Left 4 Dead 2. Both games received critical acclaim for their innovative cooperative gameplay, intense atmosphere, and high replay value. The original was praised for its AI director, which dynamically adjusted the game based on the player's actions, creating a unique experience each time you played it. The engaging teamwork required to survive the zombie apocalypse was another highlight. The sequel introduced new characters, weapons, and enhanced mechanics, further elevating the experience. Both titles have left a lasting legacy in the co-op genre, celebrated for their impact and enduring popularity. Fast forward to early 2015, and there was plenty of buzz around an upcoming game called Evolve. Developed by Turtle Rock Studios, the developers of the original Left 4 Dead, Evolve was being billed as the next big thing in multiplayer games. Pre-launch coverage and impressions suggested that it would live up to that billing. A unique idea, a cool setting, and a fascinating gameplay hook, it seemed like it had everything going for it. And sure enough, for a short time after the game's launch, it was enjoying all the success that so many had predicted it would. But that success, as we now know, was awfully short-lived. Things progressively got worse and worse for Evolve once it had released, and in spite of the best efforts from Turtle Rock and publisher 2K, ultimately, nothing could save it from dying an untimely death. Evolve is no more than a memory now, not even playable unless you're looking for peer-to-peer matches. All that promise, all that potential, all of it, gone to waste. But how did we get to this? How did one of the most exciting new releases of 2015 ended up being the failure that Evolve is now known to be? For that, we have to go back to the beginning. Evolve was developed by Turtle Rock Studios. Evolve's creative director Phil Robb and lead designer Chris Ashton are the co-founders of Turtle Rock Studios alongside Mike Booth. The team had a heritage of developing competitive multiplayer games, such as Valve's Counter-Strike series and the Left 4 Dead series. According to Rob, the team wanted to build a cooperative, multiplayer game because the team had a chance to play with their family and friends together, instead of playing against each other, and found it offered a more enjoyable experience than competitive multiplayer games. The concept for Evolve was completed in 2005, before the development of the first Left 4 Dead game. However, the Evolve project was put on hold, as Turtle Rock thought that the technology at that time was not advanced enough to handle the game's design. Turtle Rock Studios merged into Valve in early 2008, but split away later the same year. When the company re-established, it only had 13 staff members. As a new company, Turtle Rock Studios hoped to make use of the popularity of the Left 4 Dead franchise to create something ambitious and massive before people forgot about the company. When 8th generation video game consoles were released, the team realized that they could create almost anything they wanted. They reviewed some of their previous projects and eventually chose Evolve, which seemed to be the most straightforward concept. The team also considered the new project as their proving ground, a project that could show their ability to build on a large-scale game beyond providing assistance from Valve. The development for Evolve officially began in early 2011. Evolve adopted an asymmetrical multiplayer structure, a new concept in the video game industry during its development. It was so new that the developer itself worried and wondered why no one else was working on such a project. The design team was also uncertain of whether the 4v1 structure would work or not. According to Turtle Rock, when the publishers heard that the original creators of Left 4 Dead were making a new game, they were interested. However, the design team encountered difficulties when it comes to pitching the game and used 2 months to prepare for the pitching process. According to Rob, publishers were conservative and unsupportive about the idea and attempted to poke holes in their pitch. Even though the representatives from these publishers were excited about the pitch after they knew it would be an extension to the tank mode in Left 4 Dead, they questioned the ability of Turtle Rock to make a AAA video game and were uncertain whether it was a project they should invest in. After multiple failures, the Turtle Rock team looked for a business partner, a company that would support the idea and was in need of a cooperative shooter to fit their game's lineup. They eventually partnered with THQ for Evolve, which would serve as the game's publisher and help with funding. According to Rob, they had to show the game on their iPad, as they forgot to bring the battery for their laptop. THQ's then president, Danny Bilson, and later Jason Rubin, were also excited about the idea. However, at that time, THQ had already entered financial difficulties, suffering from a severe decline in profits. Turtle Rock also knew that THQ had internal problems, but they decided to not part ways with THQ. THQ's financial situation continued to worsen, and they have declared bankruptcy on December 19th in 2012. Evolve was listed alongside other unannounced titles from Relic Entertainment, Visual Games, and THQ Studios Montreal in court documents filed by THQ. With THQ unable to produce its publishing and funding roles, an auction was held for the other publishers to acquire these titles. Publishers interested in the game visited Turtle Rock Studio to see their secret project. The team was frustrated as they felt the situation was out of their control. Rubin later contacted Ashton and Rob and suggested that they should bid on the game themselves. They bid $250,000 for their own project, which Ashton described as what they had in the bank. However, they were outbid by Take-Two Interactive, which paid $11 million to acquire the game and secure rights to the entire franchise and its publishing label. 2K Games then served as the game's publisher. Despite being outbid, the Turtle Rock team was still super excited to collaborate with 2K. On the 8th of January in 2015, Turtle Rock and 2K announced that Evolve had been declared gold, indicating it was prepared for duplication and release. Officially unveiled in 2014, for a year until it came out, Evolve generated plenty of buzz and even more hype. A unique new multiplayer game offering an experience that can't be found in any other games. All of it coming from the people who created Left 4 Dead no less. How could one not be excited about that elevator pitch? Its showings and events and showcases drew plenty of excitement as well, and pre-launch alphas and playtests suggest that the game was shaping up to be something special. 2K2 put its whole weight behind the project and decided to hype it up as its next big franchise. The stage was set for Evolve to take the world by storm. Then everything came crashing down like Dr. Disrespect's career. Everything after the game's launch was more complicated than its pre-release hype would have suggested. Evolve had plenty going for it, of course. The 4v1 framework, the tense atmosphere of its multiplayer matches, the uniquely atmospheric and excellently realized setting, all of these were just a few of the game's highlights, and Evolve was rightly praised by no few people for all of these reasons. But it wasn't perfect, of course far from it. Its maps were too samey in their visual and aesthetic, and playing the monsters disappointing enough quickly got repetitive. The game's balancing across its many maps and characters was also criticized. Most flagrant among its flaws is its progression system. New characters were unlocked at a torturously slow pace, and since the little morsels of the game story were tied into playing with new characters, that too felt slow as molasses to those who played the game. Like so many online games have done over the years, Evolve tried to artificially pad out its content by making its progression incredibly grindy, which led to repetition and, in turn, boredom. Unsurprisingly, plenty of criticism was reserved for this aspect of the game when it released. Another major thing that worked against the game was its ridiculous DLC model. Coming out at a time when most developers and publishers still haven't found the right balance of how to structure post-launch support for their games, Evolve took things a little bit too far. Several characters and monsters were locked as DLC behind paywalls, even though the maps were all free. Even at launch, the game had well over 40, yes, 40 paid DLC packs available. Predictably enough, Evolve was lambasted by a large number of players upon launch for its ridiculous DLC model, and in hindsight, it's clear that it was one of the biggest factors leading to the game's downfall. Commercially too, the game failed to make any type of mark that many thought it would. Oh, things looked more than a little rosy in the days and weeks immediately following Evolve's release, with Take-Two Interactive saying that the game had enjoyed an incredibly successful launch, and lauding the 2.5 million copies it had managed to ship within just a couple months of the launch. The company even famously said at the time that it's now considered Evolve to be one of its flagship franchises, right up there with the likes of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. It's fair to say that that comment hasn't aged too well. That initial burst of sales fizzled out very quickly. Evolve bled players like a faucet. Criticisms for its balancing and progression and its DLC model, among other things, coming together to quickly turn the tide against the game's favor. Before its release, Turtle Rock said that Evolve would have the best and most consistent post-launch support for a game ever, but by October of 2016, less than 2 years after its release, things had turned so sour for the game that 2K and Turtle Rock had ended up announcing that they would no longer support it with new content. Briefly, the game experimented with the free-to-play model, but that too enjoyed little more than initial success. When it transitioned to becoming a free-to-play game, dubbed Evolve Stage 2, it attracted over 1 million new players, but that success was also short-lived. People didn't stick around for long, and in September of 2018, 2K shut down the game's dedicated servers, officially calling the time of death. It's crazy for this game that we're talking about that happened 9 years ago. We're still seeing issues like that today. A few main ones would be Apex, a bunch of the Battle Royale games that I'm going to be talking about in a future video, and a bunch of other AAA titles aren't living up to the expectations because companies are getting greedy, but they've been greedy for a long time. And this was one of the first cases of it. And this was a game that I was actually really excited for. This was one of those games that I played when I was 16, and I loved it to death. And I was so sad that it came out the way it did, because it actually had core gameplay. It actually had good mechanics. They didn't build on it, or they got too greedy and didn't actually care about the product. But it's just another case of people being greedy and just overall disappointment from the gaming community. But if you played Evolve, let me know. I want to know if you guys have ever played Evolve and what your opinion on it is. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. By the time you guys see this video, my birthday will be yesterday. I'm turning 24. Yes, I'm old. Shut up. But I just wanted to thank you guys. The support has been honestly insane. And for me, I've just been sort of still trying to figure out when it comes to thumbnails, video ideas, how I can edit them. And I'm still sort of working on that. But if you have video ideas yourself that you want me to do, let me know below as well. I would love to get you guys involved in the community as well. But other than that, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell for future notifications. And we'll see you guys next time.